Good afternoon to everyone. Let me thank my colleagues for being here and for their good work over the past couple of days. We're joined by Westchester County Executive George Latimer, who's a pleasure to see once again. You'll hear from him in a moment. We have Kelly Cummings, who's the Director of State Operations. We have Michael Copey, who's the Director of Emergency Management for the state. Matthew Driscoll, who is the Director of the New York State Thruway Authority. Eric Colaside, who is the Commissioner of Parks and Recreation. Patrick Murphy, who is the Commissioner of the Department of Homeland Security. Tom Cogden, who's the Executive Deputy of the Department of Public Service, which oversees all of the utilities. Rick Mazzone, who's the Commander of Troop K, and Todd Westheis, who's the Chief of Staff of the Department of Transportation. It's a beautiful 44-degree day today. The sun is shining. It's a nice day to get out. And we are talking about the possibility of a snowstorm. Welcome to extreme weather and the new normal. They are forecasting a snowstorm for this evening. The snowstorm, the heaviest bands of the snowstorm would come through the Hudson Valley, unfortunately. We're looking at ranges of snow in the mid-Hudson. The current estimate is 4 to 8 inches. New York City and Long Island, 4 to 7 inches. The rest of upstate New York, 1 to 3 inches. So it's a narrow band that comes into the state from the southwest, exits through the northeast, comes right through the Hudson Valley. The weather for Monday is, it will be colder, some precipitation, but not frigid temperatures, and they're not forecasting a large amount of rain. So as of this time, it's just a snow event. When I say just a snow event, snow we can handle. It gets complicated when it's snow plus ice plus freezing rain, because then it becomes not just a snow issue, not just a road issue, then it becomes a power issue, especially in Westchester County in the Hudson Valley, where the ice accumulates on the wires and on the trees, and then we have a power outage issue. If it is just what they forecast, we are prepared for it. Since it is a relatively small part of the state that is most dramatically affected, we have redeployed resources from other parts of the state to the Hudson Valley, Westchester, et cetera. Upstate New York, as I mentioned, is only looking at about 1 to 3 inches of snow. 1 to 3 inches of snow doesn't even raise an eyebrow in Buffalo, New York. So much of that equipment we have redeployed down to the Hudson Valley. The only if in the scenario is there are, when they track weather, sometimes they, weather forecasters all agree that one track will basically be the track. In this case, there are several forecasts and several tracks. And there is a track forecasted that would bring more snow than we are expecting. So we want to be prepared. We've learned the hard way that the only way to deal with a situation like this is to be prepared. If you're not prepared before, it is too late when you try to scramble in the middle of a storm and move people and move equipment. That does not work. So we'd rather over-prepare than under-prepare. And if Mother Nature goes light and easy on us, great. Then tomorrow and the commute tomorrow will be fine. If there's a deviation in the track and it's worse than we thought, we'll also be prepared. But as of this moment, that's everything we know. The storm is supposed to start later this evening, through the night, end by tomorrow morning. The commute tomorrow morning will be sloppy, but manageable. There'll be crews out all night long taking care of the roads. The Metro North MTA is prepared. The airports are prepared. So hopefully, if everything goes as planned, tomorrow will be a work day much like any other. I want to thank all our local partners who have been fantastic. I don't think we've had as many deployments this early in the season as we've seen. There have been a number of storms, a number of possible storms. So the colleagues you see behind me have been working overtime, conference calls, planning sessions, getting ready, because it really has been a much more frequent pattern of extreme weather events. We can have a conversation about theories about what causes the extreme weather, but I don't think there's any factual dispute but that the extreme weather patterns are here with a higher frequency. But our partners have done a great job, and we are only as good as the partners we're working with. We're very lucky to have a county executive in George Latimer who knows government from every aspect. He's been on the state side, he's been in local government, and he's doing a great job as the county executive. It's a pleasure to work with him, and it's my pleasure to introduce him now. County Executive George Latimer.
Thank you, Governor. Appreciate it. Thank you very much. Well, as the Governor said, we're here in anticipation of the worst, but prepared for it. And hopefully, if we get a break, we'll have a good advantage of it. But we're very fortunate to have the Governor's leadership, his willingness to bring together these resources, these professional individuals in every one of these disciplines. In the last few days, the presence of Kelly Cummings, we've spoken, Mike Copey, whom we all know here, Commissioner Murphy, Todd Westhouse, Matt Driscoll. This is really a very talented team that the Governor's put together, and Westchester residents benefit from having this professionalism, these men and women at the ready. As the Governor said, we're expecting 4 to 8 inches in our county. We don't know exactly what that will look like, but what the distribution of it may be. So we've taken at the local level certain preparations. For those who travel on the county Beeline bus system, use it to get to work every day or connect to the Metro North system, we're going to make decisions as to what's happening on the ground tomorrow morning, depending on the accumulation of snow and the ice. Now, we understand at this moment that the snow would stop just before daybreak, which should give our local crews enough time to make the roads passable. They're being treated now. Westchester County's responsibility for the Bronx River Parkway and the Valhalla campus, which is access to the medical center and also to the county jail. The local towns, villages, and cities are responsible for local roads, and of course, both the DOT and the State Thruway Authority do a terrific job of keeping their roads open and passable throughout the course of this process. The county airport is going to remain open throughout this period of time. However, airlines are going to be making decisions about whether they're going to bring their equipment in tonight and store it here or cancel certain flights to arrive, which will mean in the morning we would expect a higher number of cancellations. So the obvious logical thing for anybody who's planning to travel out of Westchester County Airport tomorrow, call your carrier today, find out if the flight has already been canceled, and make alternate arrangements. Governor's doing a good job of getting LaGuardia together, so there is an alternate down in Queens if we're not able to get those flights out of here. From the standpoint of our emergency services, we're opening our Emergency Operations Center, which is located within the State Center over in Hawthorne. That'll be open at 7 o'clock tonight. We will have all the relevant contacts that we need. We're particularly concerned with wet snow, what it might mean to our power lines. As the Governor pointed out, we've had problems in the past with that plus wind. If this incident does not have heavy wind to go with the heavy snow, then we'll miss a bullet. But should there be downed power lines, then the county's DPW, the municipal DPW services will be ready to work in tandem with Con Ed and NYC. Both of the utilities have promised us that they're more at the ready today than they were a year ago. The Governor and the PSC is certainly going to hold them accountable, but we're going to make sure from the local government side that we have our crews ready to interface with them to remove anything from the roadway. As they shut the power off, we remove the impediment, and then they reconnect the power to try to get people up and operative. Just last week, they had a wind incident in Buffalo, and the New York State system worked brilliantly from everything I've been told. I guess Buffalonians are a little more prepared for this stuff than some of the Westchester guys are. But whatever it is, we hope to be ready for it. So again, we thank the Governor for his leadership on all of these things. It really makes the difference. We thank all of these men and women for their professionalism. It's truly appreciated by the people of Westchester County. And I'd encourage anybody from Westchester, look at social media, check our website. We'll try to update things in real time. Governor, thank you again.
Thank you very much. I thank the county executive, and he's right, everything is perspective. If we get several inches tomorrow and you're out there shoveling several inches of snow, keep it in perspective. Buffalo, New York had 7 feet of snow one storm. So just, it can always be worse. Any questions for myself or the county executive or any of my colleagues?
What assurance can you give the people of Westchester about their concerns with power companies and losing power during storms like this? You both have been holding the utility companies accountable. What assurance can you give the people of home?
Yeah, well, let me make a point and then I'll turn it over to the county executive. The utility companies, you're exactly right. What happens in a situation like this? Snow we can handle. Ice we can handle. It's more problematic. The real difficulty becomes if the storm produces ice and wind and then we have the power outages and then the delay in getting the power back on. And I have been very clear and blunt as a good New Yorker with the power companies that is just unacceptable. You know, at one time, the frequency of storms we have and the severity was a novelty. And several years back, the utility companies would say, you know, I've never seen anything like this, some of the ice storms we had here in Westchester, and we just weren't ready. We weren't staffed, we didn't have the equipment, et cetera. That no longer works as an excuse. I've made that clear to them. They are regulated by the state. We have penalized utilities for not being ready. And frankly, we don't leave it to the utilities anymore. When we see a storm coming, we supplement them with state resources and local resources. And also there's something called a mutual aid system, where one state can call for assistance and bring in crews from other states, surrounding states. New York has been very generous when it comes to helping other states. We've even helped Puerto Rico during their storm. Literally, we sent power crews to Puerto Rico. So we engage the mutual aid system and have crews from other states on standby in case we need them here. There's not a lot of mystery to it. They're down power lines, a limb broke, a pole broke, et cetera, but you have to get a crew to that site in that weather condition to make that repair. And if you don't have the resources, you can't do it. The utility companies, I don't want to jinx us, but they have been doing a better job. As the county executive mentioned, we just had a situation in Buffalo, New York, where we had high winds, we had power lines down. The response has been better. There are more crews, there are more personnel, there's more equipment than they've ever had before. We supplement it from the state and the local, and then if we envision a problem, we push that button on the mutual aid system and we bring in crews from out of state. But the thrust of your question is right. In the past, they have been delinquent. We know it. We've penalized them. It's not acceptable. They're regulated by the state. And they get a franchise from the state. They are licensed by the state. Nobody gave them, there's no God-given right to be a utility company. And I've said to them, if they can't handle the storms, we don't need them as a utility company. You know, we don't need them when the sun is shining. We need them in the aftermath of a situation that brings inclement weather. So they've heard me and they have been better. But let me ask the county executive to respond.
Thank you. Well, the state has the stick. The county, with no direct regulatory authority, has the carrots. So we met earlier this week with Con Edison leadership. Tim Cawley, the president, was in with some of the other key people. We've had recent dialogue with NYC, which serves 20% or so of the county. What they committed to us, both of us, after the aftermath of last year's experience is that they would have more equipment at the ready. They wouldn't just rely on mutual aid to provide a response. They've also indicated that they would have manpower, men and women, available at the ready. These are commitments that have been made to the PSC and to those of us in local governments. So as a Republican president once said when he quoted Russian, "Doverny no proverny," trust, but verify. So we go into this with a sense of trust, and hopefully we'll see the verification of their commitment. We believe that we've all learned something from what happened last year, and they will have the manpower and the equipment ready to respond. And with a little bit of luck from Mother Nature, we'll get through this okay. But it is a question of performance for all of us. Whatever happened in the past, we have to perform over the next 24 hours in order to maintain the trust of the people that have given us this opportunity.
Okay?
The timing of this storm is somewhat interesting that it could wrap up right as the morning commute ramps up tomorrow morning. What advice would you give people that may wake up and see no snow falling, but the storm may have just wrapped up right before that?
Well, that is what they are now forecasting, that literally by daybreak, the snow would stop. I would be ready for tomorrow morning. I would start earlier. The commute, if that is the case, and again, we'll have plows out all night long, but it will be a sloppy commute, and I would factor that in. We would expect at this time that everything is working and everything is running, but you know, you're operating trains on tracks, the snow falls on the tracks, there are issues, plows are moving, the traffic gets backed up behind the plow. So I would definitely prepare for it tomorrow morning and leave time. Okay, thank you very much.
Kevin, good to see you.
Thanks, brother. Good to see you.
Pleasure. Absolutely, sir. Kelly, thanks. I did speak to the woman from Knife who was setting up the meeting. I put the call into the Knife, so I'll let you know. Once we get together, we'll figure out a way to
They're
operate.
totally engaged, so, yeah,
Okay, thank you.
absolutely.
Mike? Hey, John. Good to see you. Good job. Anything you need from us, let us know.
Fine.
All right, sir.